Hello, welcome to Pride of London Fan TV. Ali here, bringing you my match review of the game between Spurs and Palace, which of course finished 4-1 to Spurs. And if I could give Palace fans any happiness, any light at the end of the tunnel tonight, it's that after the West Brom game next week, we only have, we have 3 weeks where we don't have to watch Palace play and don't have to experience that pain. But anyway, let's get into it. All the usual features, Roy's rating and man of the match. And I'm going to start with Roy's rating. I'm going to give Roy a 6. I just don't really think there's much more that Roy could have done today. I think his hands were tied behind his back with the team selection. I know some fans were talking before the game that if Wilf's available on the bench, then surely he's available to start. But I think he was right to heed caution with Wilf. I mean, at 28, he's reaching the peak of his career, and we've seen that this season with his 9 goals. And you only have to look at his mate, Yannick Bolasie, at what an injury can do at this stage of a career in terms of derailing it. So I think right to heed caution. And I think as well, James McCarthy was a massive loss. It won't get talked about as much as Jeffrey Schlupp and Wilf being on the bench, but he really does protect that back four. And we saw it, didn't we, with Luca's error for the first goal, where he was very slow on the turn. I mean, Boris Johnson's faster on the turn when he performs one of his U-turns. Luca did make that error, glaring error, and being, you know, I've been a critic of his this season and really going back in towards the end of last season. But fair play to Luca. He did show character to come back and put in a brilliant ball for Christian Benteke to put away. And I do think we've reached the sort of halfway house now between Benteke and the style of play that we play. I mean, anytime we put in a decent ball in, look at Andros Townsend, we're not going to forget that one against Brighton. And Luca today, he seems to be banging them in, but we just don't put those balls in the box enough. And maybe we just need to start going with a more direct approach, but we don't really know what Roy's approach is at times, do we? And I think that's going to be interesting because I think Schlupp and Saha will start next week. I think they will be available to start. They're not really wingers who plonk a ball on someone's head, although Wilf did it under Sam Allardyce. So I think the team selection will be very interesting for the West Brom game. And I think, you know, there's some questions. Eze went off at half-time today. I do think he plays better with Wilf. Him and Wilf sort of buzz off around each other. And he hasn't been, but I don't think you can really argue too much with that with Roy today. I know a large section of our fan base will be upset, but Eze hasn't been great in the last 4 games. He played better against Man United. The other one sparking debate on social media tonight is Jairo Riddewald. Do we overhype him a little bit? Is it just because he's the only central midfielder we have with an incisive, imaginative pass in him that we tend to overhype him a tad too much? I do like Jairo, but he does need to be a bit more robust at times, and particularly if he's playing as one of 2 in a 4-4-2. And that frustrated me seeing us go back to 4-4-2 because we tend to get overrun against the bigger teams. When we play 4-4-2, see the Liverpool game that we lost 7-0, for example. And that happened again today, although I don't think Roy could have done too much today, really. I think we would have lost whatever he did. We came across, I said before the game, we're coming across a Spurs team finding form, and a Spurs team with Gareth Bale finding form, and a world-class attack in Harry Kane and Bale, and a class Son as world-class too. So not much really that Roy could have done. So I'll give him a 6. I think this is one where we just have to move on and hold our hands up and say we've been beaten by a better team. But look to that West Brom game. So I think that'll be an interesting one. We're only 4 points off the top 10. And we beat West Brom, suddenly we're back in that question. I'm not sitting there saying we're going to get top 10. I don't think we will. I think we'll finish 11th, 15th. That's been inevitable all season. But we are there, and we might as well have a go at it. That's what we'd like to see next week, is us have a bit of a go, and it'd be to see what team Roy comes out with next week. What team would you go with? I'm going to mull it over for a few days, I think. There's some interesting options, as I was saying earlier on. Let me know what your team for the West Brom game would be in the comments below. Man of the match, I'm going to go for Harry Kane. It's just finding a Palace player is like looking for a needle in a haystack at times this season for man of the match. Harry Kane, it was Bale played well as well, but Harry Kane, superb assists and a brilliant goal. Good if you've got him in your fantasy team, but I don't. So there you go. But it is looking good for the Euros as well, and it was nice to see Harry and Roy have a catch-up at the end of the game. No doubt they were talking about Harry Kane's corner technique. Anyway, as I said, let me know in the comments below what your team would be for the West Brom. It's a massive one. And also your man of the match. As always, appreciate your comments in the comments section. And as always, if you've liked this video and like what you've seen, please press that subscribe button.